Karen slaps me, her female neighbor, when I refuse to give her my house for free. I'm the chief of police. Subscribe, right where you are watching from, and share this video. Annoyance. That's what rises inside me as I kneel in my garden, trimming the rose bushes I've cared for over the years. The warmth of the sun should be comforting, the gentle breeze soothing, but I can't shake off the uneasy feeling creeping under my skin. This house, this land, they're mine. They are my refuge, my escape. Yet, here comes Karen, walking toward me like she owns the place, wearing that familiar look that says she knows best. "Jane!" she calls out, her voice overly sweet. I force a polite smile, though my patience is already thinning. "Hello, Karen." She takes a deep breath, and I already know what's next. Another effort to fix my life. Another well-meaning but completely unnecessary suggestion. "I was just thinking about you today," she begins, as if I've been on her mind in some deep and meaningful way. "And it hit me. You've been here for quite a long time, haven't you?" I wipe my hands on my gardening gloves before slipping them off. "Yes, I suppose I have." Karen nods eagerly. "Exactly. And things are changing, Jane. The neighborhood isn't what it used to be. Property taxes keep going up, repair costs are increasing. It must be getting harder for you to keep up." I frown slightly, already seeing where this is headed. "I manage just fine." She gives a smile that says she doesn't quite believe me. "Of course you do. But wouldn't it be nice to take a break from all these responsibilities? No more worrying about bills, home repairs, or sudden expenses." I tilt my head, watching her closely. "Are you saying I should move?" Karen lets out a soft chuckle, as if the very idea of her suggesting such a thing is absurd. "Oh no. I'd never tell you what to do. I'm just saying if you ever felt that way, if you ever felt like it was too much, I'd be more than happy to take this house off your hands. No charge." I blink. "You're offering to take my house? For free?" Her grin widens, and she clasps her hands together. "Exactly. That way, you wouldn't have to stress about selling it. No dealing with real estate agents or pushy buyers trying to undercut you. It would be simple, hassle-free. And you'd know it was going to someone who truly values it." I take a slow breath, choosing my words carefully. "That's very thoughtful of you, Karen, but I'm not looking to sell. I like it here." Her smile falters slightly, but she quickly masks it with another overly bright expression. "Oh, Jane. I understand. I really do. It's tough to let go of something familiar. But sometimes, change is a good thing. And honestly, you deserve a fresh start." I stiffen, my patience nearly gone. I appreciate the thought, but I'm not interested. Karen's smile wobbles, and she tilts her head. "Jane, I'm just trying to help. And I'm telling you I don't need help." She sighs, folding her arms. "You're being stubborn." My jaw tightens. I'm being clear. Karen's frustration finally spills over. "Why do you have to be so proud? I'm giving you a way out, and you're acting like I'm insulting you." I exhale slowly. "Because you're assuming I'm struggling when I'm not. I don't need a way out." She huffs in frustration, her irritation showing. "Jane, I am offering you a favor. A gift. And you're just throwing it back in my face." I press my lips together. "Because I don't want it." Her hands ball into fists as she shakes her head. "You are impossible." Before she even realizes what she's doing, she reaches out and lightly taps my cheek, a brief, harmless motion, more exasperated than aggressive. The air stills. My eyes widen slightly, not from pain or fear, but from pure disbelief. The touch was light, almost dismissive, but it crosses a line she doesn't even realize existed. Karen, sensing the shift in the air, steps back. "Oh, come on, Jane, don't look at me like that. It wasn't even." I raise a hand, palm outward, a silent command for her to stop talking. My voice, steady and calm, carries weight. "Karen, back off." Her mouth opens, then shuts. The confidence she walked in with is starting to crumble under my unwavering stare. There's something in my eyes, something she can't quite place, something that unsettles her. She huffs, shaking her head as if trying to shake off whatever just passed between us. Fine. Whatever. I was only trying to be nice. She spins on her heel, stomping down the path, muttering about ungrateful people and wasted kindness. I stand there, watching her leave. A quiet smirk tugs at the corner of my lips, but I don't say a word. I simply turn back to my roses, slipping my gloves back on, picking up where I left off as if nothing happened. Karen, still fuming, has no clue that I'm not just a quiet woman living a simple life. I'm also the chief of police. Subscribe if you want more Karen and HOA stories. The morning after my argument with Karen, I wake up and find a letter from the Homeowners Association, HOA, taped to my front door. I peel it off and glance around the street, but no one is watching, not obviously at least. The envelope is thick, and something about it immediately feels wrong. Walking inside, I sit at the kitchen table and rip it open, unfolding the letter. Dear Ms. Carter, we are sorry to inform you that your property has been flagged for multiple violations, including failure to keep your front yard up to HOA standards, incorrect waste disposal, and unapproved changes to your home's exterior. Each violation comes with a $500 fine, which must be paid within 10 days. If you do not comply, legal action will be taken. Sincerely, James Holloway, HOA President. I take a slow breath, holding back the urge to crush the paper in my fist. My front yard is always neat. I follow the trash pickup schedule exactly. And as for changes to my house, the only thing I did recently was repaint my mailbox the same color it has always been. This isn't about rule breaking. This is about forcing me to give up. This is about making my life difficult until I surrender. The phone rings, snapping me out of my thoughts. I pick it up. Jane Carter. Ms. Carter, this is James Holloway from the HOA. Have you received our notice? Oh, I got it, I say, leaning back in my chair. Funny thing though, I don't remember breaking any of these supposed rules. We have very clear community guidelines, and your property is not in compliance. These fines are final. However, if you'd rather discuss other options, I'd be happy to arrange a meeting. Let me guess, James. The other option is me handing over my house. There's a pause. I don't know what you mean. Oh, I think you do, I say. Karen already tried to talk me into giving away my home. Now, out of nowhere, the HOA has a problem with my property? That's not a coincidence. Ms. Carter, you should think this through. A neighborhood improvement project like this benefits everyone. Drop the act, James. This is a scam. Silence stretches between us before he finally speaks. I'll give you time to reconsider. But I suggest you choose carefully. The line goes dead. Later that day, when I step outside, I notice my water pressure has dropped to almost nothing. I check the main valve near the curb. It has been messed with. A neighbor walks past, a man I've spoken to a few times, but when I catch his eye and wave, he quickly looks away. They're shutting me out. And it's working. I spot Karen in her yard, arms folded, staring at me. I start to turn away, but something about her face makes me stop. She's not looking smug. She looks worried. Before I can decide whether to speak to her, a scream cuts through the quiet. Karen spins around, her face going pale. Matthew. Her son. My heart drops as I rush toward her house, chasing Karen as she dashes inside. She's yelling his name, searching rooms, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. I grab her arm, forcing her to focus. Karen. When did you last see him? I don't know. He was watching TV in the living room. I left to get groceries, and when I came back, he was gone. I scan the room. No broken windows. No mess. Then my eyes land on a piece of paper, neatly placed on the coffee table. A note. I grab it, reading the words out loud. Stay out of things you don't understand. Karen claps a hand over her mouth. Oh my God. Oh my God. I turn to her, my mind racing. Karen, listen to me. This isn't just about your house or mine. It's bigger than that. Whoever did this doesn't just want homes, they want silence. Tears fill her eyes. What do we do? I exhale sharply. We find your son. And we expose them. An hour later, I've spoken to every neighbor I can without drawing too much attention. No one saw Matthew leave. No strange cars. No unfamiliar visitors. I'm running out of clues. Karen sits on the couch, staring at the wall, gripping the note tightly. Then she whispers, Jane, what if they took him to make me give up my house? The thought twists my stomach. Then we need to act fast. And we need to be smart. Karen turns to me, desperation in her eyes. You have connections, don't you? I mean, you're. I nod. I do. But I can't officially start an investigation. Not yet. If the HOA is involved, they'll cover this up before we get anywhere. We need proof. Then where do we start? I glance at the note again. By finding out who left this. The morning after my talk with Karen, I head into the station with a gnawing unease in my gut. Something about this case, the missing boy, the HOA's involvement, the well-placed threats, tells me I'm up against something far bigger than a shady neighborhood scheme. It's not just about Karen's house. It's not even about mine. It's about control, and whoever is pulling the strings doesn't like being challenged. As I step inside the precinct, the familiar hum of activity greets me. Officers typing up reports, detectives huddled over case files, the scent of stale coffee clinging to the air. I make my way to my desk, setting down my bag when I feel a presence behind me. Carter, a deep voice says. I turn, meeting the sharp gaze of Detective Mark Hale. He's been with the department longer than I have, and while I've never had a reason to doubt him before, something about him has always felt off. He carries himself with the kind of confidence that borders on arrogance, and I've seen him pull strings to get what he wants more than once. Morning, Hale, I say evenly. Busy night? He asks, eyes flicking to the files I haven't even opened yet. Could say that. He leans in slightly, lowering his voice. I heard about Karen's kid. I raise a brow. Did you? He nods. Word travels fast. It's a damn shame. You think it's related to all that HOA business? I study him for a moment. Is he fishing? Or is he warning me to back off? Too soon to tell, I reply carefully. But I'll find out. His lips twitch into a smirk, and he pats my desk before walking off. Be careful, Carter. Some fights aren't worth picking. I watch him go, my pulse quickening. Hale knows something. And if my gut is right, he's not just an observer in all of this, he's involved. I spend the next few days quietly looking into Hale's connections, tracing his phone records, and digging through financial reports. What I find confirms my worst fears. Hale has been in contact with James Holloway, the HOA president, multiple times over the past month. And that's not all. There are also records linking him to a real estate mogul named Victor Langston, a name that has popped up more than once in cases involving aggressive property takeovers. Hale isn't just dirty. He's embedded in this mess, acting as an inside man, tipping off Langston's people before any investigations can gain traction. I know I need to be smart about this. If I push too hard, too fast, Hale will catch on. And the last thing I need is for a corrupt cop to know I'm onto him. The first Rayol test comes later that night. I return home from the station, exhaustion settling deep in my bones, only to find something that sends a chill down my spine. Footprints. They're faint, but distinct. Someone has been near my house, close enough to peer into my windows. I scan the yard, my hand instinctively resting on my holster. Nothing. No sign of forced entry. No lingering figures in the shadows. But I know what I saw. Someone was here. I shake it off and head inside, locking the door behind me. I check every room, every closet. Everything is as I left it. But then I reach my car. Sitting in my driveway, untouched, locked. Yet when I open the door, there's a note on my driver's seat. A single sheet of paper with 4 words written in neat, deliberate handwriting. Leave before it's too late. A slow exhale escapes me. This isn't just about intimidation anymore. This is personal. And whoever left this note knows exactly who I am. The next day, I make a subtle move. I pull Karen aside after checking on her, my voice low. Karen, have you noticed anything strange since Matthew went missing? She shakes her head. No, just the nightmares. And the guilt. I should have been here. I grip her shoulder gently. This isn't your fault. Tears well in her eyes, but she blinks them away. Why are you asking? Have you? I hesitate before nodding. Someone left a note in my car last night. A warning. Her face pales. You think it's the HOA? I don't know yet. But whoever it is, they're watching. Her hands shake slightly. God, Jane, what if they come back? They won't. Not if I catch them first. By the time I get back to the precinct, I already have a plan. I keep my head down, act normal. I don't let Hale see any change in my demeanor, don't let him suspect I've been digging into his dealings. But as I sit at my desk, flipping through files, I catch him watching me. His gaze lingers just a little too long. And in that moment, I know one thing for certain. Hale knows that I know. The game has begun. And I have no choice but to play it carefully. Wanting to see what would happen next? Why not subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories? Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. The morning air is thick with tension as I step onto Karen's porch. I don't know what to expect from her after everything that's happened, but I need answers. Before I can knock, the door swings open, and Karen stands there, looking more exhausted than I've ever seen her. I was hoping you'd come, she says, voice quiet but resolute. I fold my arms, wary. Why? She swallows, hesitating for only a moment before stepping aside. Because I need to make things right. I enter cautiously, my eyes scanning the room. It's a mess, papers scattered on the coffee table, a laptop open with dozens of tabs pulled up. Karen motions for me to sit, but I stay standing. You were part of this, Karen. You tried to push me out of my home. She nods, shame washing over her face. I did. And I was wrong. I thought. She exhales shakily. I thought I was helping. But I see now that I was just being manipulated. I study her, looking for any signs of deception. All I see is regret. Matthew's disappearance changed everything, she continues. It made me realize how deep this really goes. And Jane. I think I can help. I hesitate, then lower myself onto the couch. Start talking. For the next hour, Karen lays it all out. The HOA was never about community improvement. It was a front. A cover for something much bigger. The president, James Holloway, had been coercing residents into donating their homes, using intimidation, threats, and even sabotage to push them out. But he wasn't working alone. There's someone bigger behind all of this, Karen says, pulling up a file on her laptop. Victor Langston. A real estate developer with a reputation for buying distressed properties dirt cheap and flipping them for millions. He's been doing this all over the state. But in this neighborhood? He has people on the inside. She glances at me. Including Mark Hale. I grit my teeth. I knew it. Karen nods. He's been tipping Langston off about police involvement, giving him a head start every time someone tries to fight back. And it's not just my house or yours, Jane. Dozens of people have lost their homes under suspicious circumstances. I lean back, absorbing the weight of what she's saying. This isn't just about a greedy HOA or a corrupt cop. This is a full-scale criminal operation. We need proof, I say. Something that will hold up in court. Karen bites her lip. That's the problem. They cover their tracks too well. But, she reaches for a folder on the table. I found something. She hands me a stack of documents, purchase records, legal transfers, even some internal emails. I scan them quickly, my heart pounding as I piece it together. Langston isn't just taking houses, I murmur. He's laundering money through these properties, buying them through shell companies, inflating the resale value, and moving funds around to make it look legitimate. Karen nods. Exactly. I close the folder, a grim sense of determination settling over me. Then it's time to bring him down. That night, I meet with an old friend, Assistant District Attorney Daniel Reed. We sit in a quiet diner, the scent of burnt coffee lingering in the air as I slide the folder across the table. Daniel flips through the pages, his brow furrowing deeper with every minute. When he finally looks up, his expression is grim. This is big, Jane. You realize that, right? Langston has powerful connections. If we move too soon, he'll slip through the cracks. Then we don't move too soon, I say. We wait. We gather more evidence. We make sure when we take him down, he doesn't get back up. Daniel nods slowly. All right. I'll get a warrant started, but I need something concrete, something undeniable. I clench my jaw. I'll get it. Over the next few days, Karen and I work together, an unlikely alliance forged by necessity. She taps into old HOA records, finding documents that were never supposed to be seen. I pull surveillance footage from nearby businesses, tracking movements between Holloway, Hale, and Langston. Piece by piece, we build our case. And just when I think we have enough, something happens that changes everything. I return home late one evening, stepping out of my car with my mind running through the day's findings. But as I reach my front door, I notice something that makes my blood run cold. The door is slightly ajar. My hand moves to my holster as I push it open, stepping inside with slow, measured movements. The house is dark, silent. I check each room, my pulse quickening with every step. Then, in my office, I see it. My desk drawers are open, my files rifled through. And sitting in the middle of my desk is a single sheet of paper. You should have walked away. I scan the room, my skin crawling. Someone was here. Someone who knew exactly what I was working on. And they wanted me to know it. I exhale, forcing myself to stay calm. If they wanted to hurt me, they would have done it already. No, this was a message. A warning. And I had no intention of listening to it. The next morning, I meet Karen at a small cafe on the outskirts of town. I slide the note across the table, watching as her face pales. Jane, this is serious. I know. But I'm not backing down. She hesitates before nodding. Then neither am I. A strange thing happens in that moment. For the first time since this all started, I don't see Karen as the enemy. She's scared, just like I am. But she's here. She's fighting. We're running out of time, I say. Langston is going to realize we're onto him soon. We need to move. Karen nods. Then let's finish this. Wanting to see what would happen next? Why not subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories? Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. The revelation hits me like a punch to the gut. My hands tremble as I flip through the classified documents spread across my desk. The words blur together, but the meaning is crystal clear. I was never supposed to own my house. I force myself to read each page carefully, my breath coming faster with every sentence. According to these records, my house was originally owned by a man named Michael Easton, a whistleblower who had mysteriously vanished years ago. He had been digging into real estate fraud, trying to expose the exact same scheme I was investigating now. And then, one day, he was gone. His house, left without an owner, was quietly reassigned. To me. But why? And more importantly, Who orchestrated it? My stomach churns. Had I been a pawn this entire time? Was my position as police chief being used to shield the very criminals I was trying to bring down? I pick up my phone and dial the only person I can trust with this information. Karen, we need to talk. Now. 20 minutes later, Karen sits across from me at my kitchen table, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Are you saying the house was never yours? She asks, her voice laced with disbelief. That's exactly what I'm saying. I shove the documents toward her. Look at these records. The house belonged to Michael Easton before me. He was investigating the same fraud we're unraveling. Then he vanished, and somehow the house ended up in my name. Karen flips through the pages, her brows knitting together. And you had no idea? None. I shake my head. I bought this place legally, or so I thought. But now, I don't even know if my purchase was real or just another piece of the cover-up. Karen exhales sharply, leaning back in her chair. That explains a lot. The HOA, the aggressive push to get you out, it wasn't just about you being stubborn. Someone wants this house back. Someone who knows its history. I rub my temples, feeling the weight of it all. That also means your pursuit of my house wasn't entirely baseless. You were manipulated, just like I was. You were told it should be yours. She flinches, guilt flashing across her face. I was so sure you were the obstacle in my way. I didn't question why they wanted it so badly. I sigh. We were both played. The real question is, why does this house matter so much? What's hidden here that they don't want us to find? Karen hesitates before meeting my gaze. Then I guess we find out. Together. We spend hours combing through the documents, tracing every lead we can find. The deeper we dig, the more we realize just how tangled this conspiracy is. Michael Easton had been close, too close, to exposing Langston's operation. He had gathered proof, real evidence that could have taken down the entire fraudulent network. And then, just before he could go public, he vanished. The worst part. There was no record of a police investigation into his disappearance. Karen reads aloud from one of the reports, her voice tight. He went missing. No case was ever opened. No missing person alert. Nothing. It was like he never existed. I lean back in my chair, realizations settling like ice in my veins. They covered it up. Completely. And now they're trying to erase the last piece of him. This house. Karen sets the papers down, rubbing her face. Then we're running out of time. If they know we're close, they'll escalate. They always do. I nod. We need to find out what Michael was onto before they get to us. The next day, we start with the house itself. If Michael hid something, it had to be here. We check every inch, inside the walls, under the floorboards, in the attic. But hours pass with nothing to show for it. Maybe we're missing something, Karen says, frustration creeping into her voice. I tap my fingers against the edge of my desk, staring at the old blueprint of the house. Wait a minute. Karen leans in. What? I trace my finger along the diagram. This layout doesn't match exactly. There should be a crawl space under the living room. But there's nothing there. We exchange a look before springing into action. It takes some work, but we find it. A hidden compartment beneath the floorboards, nailed shut with precision. Karen kneels beside me as I pry it open. Please let this be it. Inside is a small, metal box. Dusty, rusted at the edges, but still intact. My hands shake as I lift it out and flip open the latch. Inside we find files, real evidence. Documents, photos, bank records, everything Michael had compiled before he disappeared. And then, at the very bottom, a letter addressed to me. My blood turns to ice. Jane, Karen breathes. He knew. He knew you'd find this. I unfold the letter, my hands unsteady as I begin to read. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. But I couldn't let them erase the truth. The house, the fraud, the corruption. It goes higher than you think. Your position in the department is no accident. They wanted you here, Jane. Not to stop them. To protect them. I stop, my throat tightening. Karen watches me, eyes wide. I keep reading. They made you chief for a reason. You're unknowingly guarding the very people you're trying to bring down. And the deeper you dig, the more dangerous this gets. Be careful. They won't hesitate to do to you what they did to me. A cold wave of dread washes over me. I set the letter down, gripping the table to steady myself. Karen's voice is barely above a whisper. Jane, what does this mean? I take a deep, shaky breath. It means I wasn't just a pawn in this scheme. I was a piece they needed. A piece they placed. Karen covers her mouth, realization dawning. And if that's true, then your entire career might be built on a lie. My voice is hollow. We sit in stunned silence, the weight of the discovery pressing down on us. Everything I thought I knew, about my job, my house, my purpose, it's all been manipulated from the start. But one thing is clear, they've underestimated me. I square my shoulders and meet Karen's gaze. Then it's time to turn the tables. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting subsequent interesting daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. The night air is thick with anticipation as Karen and I finalize our plan. We don't have the luxury of time anymore. Every move we make now has to be calculated, precise. The people behind this scheme have already proven they have no qualms about silencing threats. If we hesitate, we're next. Are you sure about this? Karen asks, gripping the strap of her bag tightly. This could go sideways fast. I nod, adjusting my holster. We don't have a choice. If we don't take them down now, they'll keep covering their tracks. We need them to expose themselves. Karen exhales sharply. All right. Then let's set the trap. We lure them out using the one thing they can't resist. Power. The promise of tying up loose ends. I leak just enough information through an old contact, letting it slip that I have Michael Easton's missing files, the real evidence of their fraud. It doesn't take long before the fish start biting. James Holloway, the HOA president, calls an emergency board meeting. The guest list? Everyone involved in the operation. Victor Langston, the real estate tycoon, is attending. So are two officers I had suspected were dirty for weeks. And then there's Detective Mark Hale. I know he's playing both sides. But what I don't know is how far he's willing to go to protect himself. We sit outside the meeting place, watching as the corrupt players arrive one by one. An abandoned warehouse. Classic. They must think they're untouchable. Once they're all inside, we move in, I tell Karen, gripping the radio connected to the backup team waiting in the wings. We get them to talk. We get them on record. And we end this. Karen nods. Let's finish this. Inside the warehouse, I move carefully, hidden in the shadows. My wire is live, broadcasting everything back to the team waiting for my signal. Karen watches from a side entrance, ready to step in when needed. Holloway speaks first, his voice laced with irritation. This mess should have been handled by now. Langston scoffs. It would have been, if your HOA cronies had done their job. Instead, we have Jane Carter sniffing around, and now she has the files. I smirk. Perfect. One of the officers leans in. So what do we do? If those files get out? We make sure they don't, Langston interrupts. We find Carter. We deal with her. And this time, we make sure there's nothing left to trace. Karen's voice crackles in my earpiece. That's our cue. I step forward, gun drawn. I'd love to see you try. The room explodes into chaos. Officers rush in, weapons raised. Holloway and Langston freeze as the realization hits them. They've walked straight into a trap. Jane. Karen calls out, stepping up beside me. Where's Hale? I scan the room, my stomach twisting. He was supposed to be here. Then, from the corner of my eye, I spot something. A single envelope left on one of the crates, addressed to me. I grab it, rip it open, and scan the words inside. You're close, but not close enough. You think Michael Easton was the whistleblower? You're wrong. The real whistleblower is still alive. A chill runs down my spine. I shove the note in my pocket and refocus on the arrests. But Hale's disappearance isn't an accident. He's playing his own game. Hours later, as the dust settles and the criminals are taken into custody, I sit in my office, staring at the note. The real whistleblower is still alive, I murmur to myself. Who else was involved in this mess? A knock at the door startles me. Karen steps in, her face pale. Jane, we have a problem. What now? She swallows hard. Your stalker left another message. She hands me a small, folded piece of paper. I unfold it, reading the scrawled words. You've found the corruption. Now it's time to face the truth. I look up at Karen. I think we're about to find out who's really behind all of this. That night, I drive back to my house, every nerve on edge. I know I'm being watched. I can feel it. But tonight, I'm done running. I step inside, shutting the door behind me. And then, I hear it, a single deliberate footstep in the darkness. I whip around, gun raised. Show yourself. A figure steps into the dim light, hands raised. My breath catches. It's a face I never expected to see again. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and like this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also to appreciate this community too. I would like to know the country in which you are listening to this story. Which country is that? Please comment below.